Hello and welcome to FIFAe Talks, the home of football esports, where I'll be joined by various guests from around the world of football, gaming in particular, to learn more about what makes them tick on and off the virtual pitch. Today, we are joined by someone who, I guess we could say, he rivals Arsene Wenger in terms of number of games managed.
Oh,
Zealand.
He's got nothing on me, dude. Come on. What is it?
What are you saying? How many games do you reckon on a rough ballpark?
Dude, come on. You play... I've lived like 20 lifetimes in Football Manager. Arsene Wenger is going to need to come up with some alchemy to catch up to me.
Fair enough. Well, I'm sure most of you have heard of Zealand before when you were searching for tips and tricks on how to start FM. But today we're going to get a bit more of a deeper dive into his upbringing, how he got into gaming, content creation. And then you guys that love this sweaty tactic stuff, you can get all the tactical advice you need. And then we'll finish it off with a cheeky little Q&A hot seat questions. But of course, we got to start with your upbringing, life in USA. Are you born and raised, or what's... Chat to you about that.
I get that question all the time because Zealand's my actual name, so people just assume that I'm like
from
not,
New Zealand,
foreign in some way. But no, America's just got weird names, I guess. Shout out to my parents. But I was born in Florida, so the Florida man aesthetic, the Florida man meme life. Tampa, Florida, which is on the west side. To help orient everybody that's not from Florida. It's about an hour west of Disney World, so that you figure out where on Florida that is. But yeah, look, I had a very normal, like American, I guess, upbringing. Both my parents are from the United States. All my grandparents are from the United States. So I came by soccer, as I would call it, really honestly. And very, very early on, I remember I was probably 6 or 7 years old.
Oh, yeah.
There was a church down the street from where we grew up, and there was a little church league where my parents put me in to play, soccer with. I'm just going to use my word here, but I know.
No, feel free. Do what you want. Do what you want. You had a special guest. We use whatever word you want for today.
Well, it's fair enough. I just usually talking about it in the United States, I say soccer, and anywhere else I say football.
That's cool.
But it was and so they put me in this little soccer league, and I don't know why it's such a vivid memory for me, but I could always punt the ball really far. So I was playing goalkeeper, in a 6-year-old league. And the coach told me if I punted it into the other goal, he'd get the whole team pizza. And it took me like a year, and I was going for it every single time that I'd pick the ball up. And eventually I got it. So I was a hero when I was 7. Yeah, we got the entire team pizza because the field wasn't that big, and I punted it in. I'm sure the other kid just like fell over or something. We were all great. But no, I had a real straightforward upbringing. Played a bunch of different sports. Played American football. Played everything. Went to public high school in the state of Florida, which is like the Hunger Games, and kind of came out of that. I don't know. I don't really know how to answer this question. I need to write my own biography or something. I had 2 brothers. I like long walks on the beach. I don't know.
No, you've helped more than enough, because I was going to say, obviously, in America, football, soccer is not the biggest sport, or definitely when growing up, it wasn't that massive. So were you into watching it at all, or you were just there playing, trying to get that pizza?
No, I had no idea. The fun thing is, I know how people acquire this kind of learned knowledge of sports, because my dad is a huge sports fan. I mean, every single day coming home from school, sports on the TV. If it's baseball season, go Rays. If it's football season, go Buccaneers. If it's hockey season, go Lightning. Like, we had season tickets to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, to the Tampa Bay Lightning. We were always watch. So, if I'm talking about those sports, I can do what a lot of my like English or British friends that I have now can do when it comes to football, where they go, early 2000s, they just start naming players, right?
That's
get
me.
Those, yeah, exactly. You get those grids out, and you're like, one player that played for Crystal Palace and was also coached by Ancelotti, right? And you fill out your grid. I can do that for all the American sports, but growing up, there was not a lot of soccer on TV, really. The first time, and I don't know where this came from, the first time that I really was exposed to professional soccer and kind of what it meant outside of the United States was I was about 9 years old. We had those Nintendo DSs back in the day.
Yep.
And somebody, I guess my dad, because he just bought me every sports video game ever, bought me the 2006 World Cup game on Nintendo DS. And I remember cracking that open, and the first loading screen, it would give you a loading screen from one of the 32 teams at the World Cup.
Yeah.
In Saudi Arabia was at that World Cup. So the first loading screen I got was this, like, it was some image from Saudi Arabia, like a dude on a camel, the Saudi flag, which is, I mean, to a 9-year-old, the Saudi Arabian flag is probably like the coolest one ever. It's like the green one with the script and the swords. And I'm 9, so swords are cool. and I'm just like, damn, wait, Saudi Arabia plays this sport? Like, I didn't even really know what Saudi Arabia was.
America, sure.
Exactly, right? The United States is like a freaking continent in a lot of ways. I mean, you don't see or look outside of it, especially in sports. There's no, like, there's one, you get like a couple Canadian teams in hockey and baseball, whatever, but you don't really see outside the United States when it comes to sports. So it blew my mind. And then there were teams in that World Cup like Trinidad and Tobago. I'm like, bro, I've never even heard of Trinidad and Tobago.
That was me as well. That was genuinely me as well. So I fully hear it.
So it just blew my brain wide open. And like, yo, this sport is different. Right? Like, I've got all these other sports that I've grown up with and loved, and I know all the players and whatever, but this sport is different. And it appealed to my brain. There was something so cool to me about the fact that there was a sport that basically everybody in the world was playing, right? It at least has a team for. And I was drawn to that. And then I got the 2010 World Cup video game. Fantastic and I think game. PlayStation 3, I got to have 10,000 hours in that game. I played that. I could probably sing the entire playlist of that video game. And my brothers and I, we would just play that game. I remember we would go to the beach, very Floridian, and we had, like, friends' beach house or whatever. Like, everybody had that one little condo they could all go hang out on the beach, very Floridian thing. And there was this little old early 2000s TV. And we would just, breathe on the CD or whatever, slip it in. And we would just play. We would fire up like 4 or 5 man World Cups. And we'd pick, I'd be like Vietnam and somebody else would be Thailand, right? And it was just super fun because this was all right when FIFA was taking over, the video game FIFA was taking over the US too. It was all happening at the same time. And then the Premier League, the NBC got the rights to the Premier League, which was genius. NBC is one of the huge public kind of, not public, but everybody can watch it if you just have an antenna and a microwave, basically. They realize that there's nothing great to show on TV from 7:30 to 12 on weekends. But you can go buy live sports in the Premier League. And so now every morning when you're waking up, if you're probably from my age of like 11 or 12 to now, you just wake up Saturday, Sunday morning, and it's just Premier League is on TV everywhere all the time. So me growing up was kind of, it coincided with soccer becoming just infinitely more popular in the US, but it was those old World Cup video games that finally exposed me to it. But I'm not like, people always think that I just have this supreme ball knowledge. And when it comes to like what we were talking about earlier, those grids and knowing all this, when the truth is I don't, because I really have known what the Premier League was, how promotion and relegation worked, the names of all the big teams in Europe, the structure of the Champions League and all this stuff. I've known that for maybe 12 years, and I'm 28. So I mean,
it's a lot more than most people. Trust me, there's a lot of youngers that they're just now learning it. So.
I've tried to throw myself into it, obviously, and make up for lost time. But there's just a difference between growing up with it and not grow. Like I didn't grow up immersed in it. I grew up eating orange slices and trying to punt the ball into the other net, right? And then eventually it just became something that I got super interested in.
Fair. So obviously you mentioned that you were, I guess, playing it on DS and then PS3. So what was like your earliest gaming memories? Were you always into gaming? Was it family members? Was it football games straight away? Sports games?
It was sports games. It was not family members. My dad grew up in a very idyllic middle American household, like very Midwest. He's from Chicago. And his parents would only bring the TV out on Friday nights, and they'd watch the same like 2 programs, and then they put the TV away. Wow. Now he tells some fun stories, like his parents would go on a trip or something, and him and his siblings would try to get the TV out, but then they would have to get ice to cool it down so that the parents wouldn't figure out that they'd been using the TV. Like stupid stuff like that. Yeah. But he grew up in a household where electronics and gaming and stuff, it was just kind of frowned upon. It was a waste of time. right? I'm always baffled by, he doesn't binge watch TV shows. I've never seen him really just watch a TV show through unless my mom forces him to do it. He all of the hobbies that our generation would have, he just doesn't have. So I grew up in a house where it was like, okay, if you want to be on the computer for an hour, you got to go outside for an hour. Right. I was making deals like I was in Shark Tank to try and be able to play video games because I was always into it. I have two gaming crutches. One sports. First sports video game I got, I was literally 6 years old. I got NFL 2K3, and it was that game was that game ruined my mental health for sure. Back then, my mom tells me stories about how I would lose to the computer again, and I'd come in crying, and then I'd be like, "No, I got to beat him," and I'd go back in and play again and lose again, and then come in crying. Like, I was playing sports games very early on, and then history was the other side of it. So my mom would take me to the mall, and I'd wander into the Mac store and walk out with like Rome Total War, the original game, and bring that home, and I got that stuck in the computer, so that was a big fiasco. But that was great for me because then I just got to play more Rome Total War. So that was probably I was before 10. Definitely before I got into soccer, into football, I got into gaming, and then the two just coalesced. Obviously.
So how does someone then who their parents are saying gaming is a waste of time, electronics is a waste of time, how then does their child get into content creation of all things? How did that come about?
Right. Irony, just extreme, because it's not like my parents weren't supportive. Right. I don't. It's not like they were mean about it. It wasn't some sort of giant like, what are you doing? You're wasting your
it's just,
life.
It was unusual for them. I get it.
It is extremely. It was. They thought it was just a complete waste of time. And I think that what really kind of turned it around for them was when they realized that it wasn't necessarily. I remember the types of arguments I was making in these Shark Tanks things. I'm like, look, you're reading books, okay? And you're reading that book to relax because we're at the beach or whatever. Well, I'm playing this game. This is my book, right? And I still remember these like sales pitches that I had. So the World Cup video games, I was learning flags and countries, right? I was learning and internalizing flags and countries, 100%. And games like Rome Total War, I'm learning history. I'm learning. I'm basically taking online classes.
Really.
So I was able to spin it in those ways, and then by the time I went off to college and I was 18, then I can, as long as I keep my grades up, I can do whatever I want. So at that point, I can just game a whole lot more. And it wasn't like I didn't go outside either. It's hard not to in Florida. It's sunny all the time, anyways.
Yeah, we don't have that kind of weather like Florida, unfortunately. We have it at the moment, to be fair, but not all year round. So how does FM come about then? Because obviously, we know, generally speaking, I guess sports games is more so about you're the one controlling the players and whatnot. How then do you get FM into that?
So I got really into FIFA. The same way I was really into every other sports game. It wasn't like I thought of FIFA as this holy grail. I wasn't an Ultimate Team guy. I never was. But I would do career modes. Some career modes I would play every game. Some career modes I would try and simulate. And I would always get, kind of frustrated with FIFA. So I'm like, I can only go 12 years in the future. And I remember the old FIFAs, you'd sign Wonder Kids and it would be like Jonathan Dos Santos da Silva from Japan. And you're like, well, this is just immersion breaking and stupid. I don't really... It was. I had a lot of gripes with FIFA, but as far as I knew, it was the only way. Every other sports game for me is like, okay, there's Madden, there's 2K for NBA, there's the show for. There's one game for every sport. It's not like there was. Not like I knew there was any other options. But the catalyst was I blew my knee out playing basketball, like second year of college. I was hitting a crossover that was so nasty, it was too nasty for my left knee. And my knee goes flying out. I've got to get this giant reconstructive surgery, right? Put my ACL back, whatever. And I do the surgery, and my mom flies in because it's a whole thing, obviously, and I'm going to be on like Oxy for a few days because I'm just in stupid, they cut my knee open.
Wow.
So I live upstairs, so I like crutch upstairs, and I lay down in the bed, and I'm like, what am I going to do? Right? I'm high, and I'm just going to so I don't remember 3 days. after the surgery because I was just taking all these painkillers and whatever. And apparently in those 3 days, I managed to fire up FIFA, start a career mode with a club called Bari in the second division of Italy.
Yeah.
And in those 3 days and in 5 seasons, wall so high I don't even remember it, I won the Champions League without playing a match. And at that point, I remember I'm like, I come to and I'm like,
I might be a genius.
Well, yeah, no, I'm looking at this and I'm like, it is official, right? Like I always had an argument before, or for some reason here or there, but now I'm sitting here and I'm like, okay, FIFA is just too easy. Like the FIFA career mode is just too easy. It doesn't challenge me at all, whatever. And I'm having this conversation with my friend that I'd always gamed with back home. Mm-hmm. He was at a different university somewhere else in the United States, so we just kind of kept up through Discord or whatever. And he's like, oh, I found this other game that might be more interesting for us to play. Because Football Manager is not advertised in the U.S. at all. People don't sit around talking about it. You don't hear about it from like the lunch table at school.
Sure.
It's called Football Manager for crying. You know, they're not trying to reach into the U.S. But we were avid users of Steam. Mm-hmm. So he had found Football Manager and he goes, yeah, it looks like FIFA career mode just on crack. And I'm like, that's one way. I mean, that's one way to describe it. Turns out he was right, apparently.
Yeah.
And he said, well, we should buy it. So I think we got it on sale. It was FM 14. And over the next, I want to say year and a half, I very slowly kind of dipped my toe into playing Football Manager. But yeah, it was my knee surgery that let me know that I needed to leave FIFA. It was time.
So at that point then, are you just playing it by yourself or had you started content creation?
I hadn't started content creation at all. In fact, I had never really been an avid watcher of YouTube. Mm-hmm. I remember I watched like Ray William Johnson way back in the day, but that was at friends' houses. I mean, I don't think I ever actually went and opened up YouTube for anything other than how to do blank. At any point in my entire life. I mean, unless I was looking for maybe like a Vine compilation or something, but I didn't know any content creators. I didn't follow anybody. You know, I wasn't studying content creation and dreaming about one day where I was going to break into it. I just started playing Football Manager, and it would start, you know, my one friend and I, we started a save. I remember he was Real Madrid. I was Barcelona. We got a day until we just went, this is ridiculous. I have no idea what's going on. And we closed it. I did that probably 3 or 4 times. I think we did one in Portugal too, where we got a day and then just gave up. But eventually I started one with Celtic, and that would have been junior year of college. And I cleared the threshold of like minimum required knowledge to be able to hit continue multiple times without feeling emotionally overwhelmed. And so I kept that save going, and I won the Champions League with them on my couch in my apartment junior year. That's probably when Football Manager really sunk its hooks into me. 112th minute, Mark O'Hara, who's a real player who didn't get anywhere near a Champions League final in real life, but he scored a header against PSG for me, and I ran around my apartment. My roommates thought I was insane. They had no idea what was going on.
This guy has the goal saved in his head.
I know, I do.
It'll talk about it forever.
I do. Mark O'Hara. It's like his only goal of the entire season. He's like a 6-foot center back. I think he ended up being a midfielder in real life. We looked this up at one point, but
you got to contact him and say thanks for the goal, man.
I'm sure. I think I tried to send him a DM at one point. He probably read it, and he's like, "What is this?
What's this guy doing, bro? What's this guy?"
It's nonsense.
So who convinced you then to start? Was it streaming, or were you making videos about it?
It was streaming. It was streaming because 4th year I moved into. So I went to the University of Virginia. And there is basically a strip of shops right next to the campus. Obviously, university in the United States is very different in a lot of ways. I'm not going to try and explain like why necessarily, but it's like this kind of really intense community thing going on. And there's this strip of shops, and because of all this different stuff, I got to live in this old apartment building above this strip of shops right next to campus. And it was me and 11 other dudes. We had 1 kitchen, like 2 bathrooms. Each of us had our own bedroom. I don't know who designed the damn place, but then we had a living room where there was a big set of rules for Fortnite. I promise I'm going somewhere with this. And if you won games solo, because there was only one TV, right? So if you were playing, a bunch of other dudes were watching you. You know, they're eating cereal and just kind of sitting on the couch. And if you win a solo game, you get to add a new rule for the apartment or whatever. So Fortnite was huge at that time, and I was in a very communal gaming setting for Fortnite. And of course, Twitch was blowing up at the same time, right? People are talking about, whether it be Ninja or Tim the Tapman or like Nick Merckx or whatever, they're talking about these guys that are blowing up with Fortnite, and everybody seems to have their own favorite guy. And of course, I'm not watching it. I don't know what Twitch is, but they start pulling it up on the TV. So the same friend that introduced me to Football Manager, because we were always just gaming online, it was him and my brother. He goes, "Well, why don't we, since we game all the time anyways, why don't we just start streaming when we're gaming?" You know, no face cam, they would just start streaming the gameplay for fun. Maybe one or two people tune in. And if you've ever streamed, there is a weird buzz you get in the back of your brain when you know it's live. Even if nobody's there, there's just some sort of like spidey sense that's going off that maybe that's just for me, that makes it very exciting, very cool, very like you're just having a good time. So he set up this elaborate stream thing. I don't know if he ever used it, but he had this really cool overlay. You know, he was super into all of that stuff, and he showed me what OBS was and everything. I would have never looked any of that up. So I definitely owe him a ton, because he basically just sends me this, hey, download this. This is how you get it to work, everything. And then he never used that really cool overlay he had, but I started just streaming every time that we would game. And all I knew about streaming was what my friends had put on the TV in the living room that we all had. And all I knew was that you just played the game you were best at. And I figured after 2 years of obsessively playing Football Manager, I was best at Football Manager. So I just started streaming it. I didn't know who any of, I didn't know the big FM creators. I didn't know how any of it was supposed to work at all. I just started streaming Football Manager, started a save in Iceland, and just kind of went with it. And that was like 2018. I had one class my last semester. I basically kind of finished school early, so I had a ton of free time.
Yeah.
I just started streaming it every day. But it was a lot of dumb luck on my part to have a bunch of things that pushed me into a direction I never would have gone otherwise.
And so from there, obviously, we know how streaming goes. You have that initial start. Then there's always a moment where you realize, you know what? I can low-key do this sort of thing full time. What was that for you? What had happened?
Oh, it was years later.
So that was a long time that it took you, yeah?
Yeah, well, it was a hobby. It was
sure.
It was a hobby. Honestly, one that I kind of kept hidden, even from my parents. Not that they were bothered by it or anything, but they would. I'm sure my dad would be like, I don't know if you should be wasting all your time streaming video games here, son. But I remember I had a graduation trip. After we graduated, we went to Australia and New Zealand. And that was the first time I realized that I was hooked on streaming, because I had a little PC at the time, and I literally just put it in my suitcase and just took it to Australia and New Zealand. And I tried to stream from every single hotel or like every place we were staying. I tried to stream from. Some of them obviously couldn't work at all. Other ones, I'm like, 5 bits a minute, whatever. And I would stream for a little while to 5 people. It wasn't like this was some sort of economic driver for my trip to Australia and New Zealand. I was just really into doing it. It wasn't detracting from my career or anything. I was a sports broadcaster at the time. I'd just go call whatever sport I needed to call that day or that week. And then I would come home and stream. And I had a girlfriend at the time, so there wasn't like, a big social driver. She would just kind of like come over all the time and be confused as to what I was doing also. But I was basically a social recluse for probably a year or two after school. And I just worked and would stream and game and not touch grass. And it was a great time, honestly. My streaming setup was in a closet. It was a folding, like tailgating table with the computer on top facing the back of my closet, which I just like hung up a bunch of scarves behind me. And I did that for 2 years. And I think I probably peaked average 12 viewers at any one time over those 2 years, and just had a great time. Never thought it was going to be a job. Was always trying to figure out how all of these people were ending up with more viewers than me, but I never thought it was going to be like a job I could convince myself and my family was legit. And then I was in this stream team as people were in like 2019, 2020. And it was for this website called FM Base. It was way back in the day. And FM Base was basically a place where you could download tactics and stuff for Football Manager. If you play FM a lot, you've probably come across that website at some point. Forum posts, database downloads, those sorts of things. And they had this old YouTube channel that they hadn't touched since like 2012 or something. And they went, hey, anybody want to run it? Like, anybody want to run the YouTube channel? And I'd been, as part of my trying to figure out how to get more viewers process, I've been watching a guy named Harris Heller. I don't know if you've ever come across that name. If you haven't, that makes complete sense. But he was one of those like how to grow on YouTube and Twitch YouTubers.
Okay.
And his big thing was you got to make content on other platforms and drive them to Twitch. And so when they went, oh, anybody want to run the YouTube channel? I was like, I'll do it, just because of that. Just because I'd been watching those videos over the past week before they asked. And I took it over. It had about 300 subscribers, but again, hadn't posted in like 7 years. And I just started posting on it. I started posting videos every day, just about Football Manager. And I would edit them myself because I'd gone to school to be a journalist and kind of broadcaster, so I knew how to edit already. And I already had the software because I had to have it for work. So I would just record from the stream setup and edit. And for whatever reason, whether it was the years of streaming or the training that I had for my other job, it just that was the moment. I mean, within 6 months of me starting to run the YouTube channel, my viewers on Twitch had gone from 12 to 150. Because every single video, I was just like, hey, and I stream.
Twitch.
Yeah. Come check. Like, I would come up with stupid, creative ways. My head would pop in from the corner and be like, "Hey, by the way, I might be streaming right now." It's something. But that was the deal I had with myself. Every video, I'm going to recommend you come to my Twitch one time, and it worked. And by the end of the first year running the YouTube channel, I think I was at 300 or 400 average viewers. It happened very quickly after a very long spell of me having no idea what was going on.
You have to respect the grinder because people don't realize how difficult it can be to get there. So fair play for sticking it out for that long. And obviously the benefits have been reaped now, if you will. I want to know then, how do you get towards the sort of pro events, or how do you get towards competing with other people on Football Manager, the little showdowns and whatnot?
That was a pandemic era gym is what I'll call it. There's a guy named Dr. Benji who was a mentor of mine coming up in the space. He's a big Football Manager creator. He doesn't do much Football Manager stuff now. I think he does like GTA RP and stuff. But we did a podcast together for a long time. Just great guy. And he came up with this idea. He's like, what if we just started a tournament between the streamers? Nobody had ever done anything like that before. And honestly, I think the reason the Football Manager, I really believe the reason the Football Manager World Cup exists and is going to happen for the first time is because of the streamer showdown. And basically for 2 years, and it helped everybody. It was a huge event. I still don't think I've had more concurrent viewers on Twitch, even with sponsors or anything else, than me playing in like a streamer showdown final. And I was the, kind of for lack of a better term, like the rising star in the Football Manager space at that time. And I certainly wasn't anywhere near the biggest Football Manager content creator when his showdown started. But they did the first one, and it was just a huge hit. And I mean, everybody was trying to figure out how you make a game like FM competitive. So they really settled on like fantasy draft. Everybody gets the same resources, build a team, play a league, play a tournament that the league decides the position. And people loved it. And it just, I think a lot of people that had worked or played with Football Manager just assumed it could never be an esport or anything because of how detailed it is and how unique it's. I mean, it's a solo sandbox game at heart. It's not a game that, there's no ultimate team and nor should there be. Please no. There's no ultimate team like feature in Football Manager. But that was just, it was so exciting, and there was such, because it's like professional poker. Sometimes you can do everything wrong and then just FM the hell out of somebody and you still win anyways. So the drama was was really engaging. People became super emotionally invested in it. The rivalry sprang up. There was like a rotating cast of characters. Nobody played in every single one of them. There were like 8 or 9 per year, so a little under 1 a month for a couple of years. And then eventually, because the people that were running it, they move on to the next phase in their life and everything. It stopped happening. But over those 2.5 years, it was something that took the Football Manager community out of some weird little corner, and it put it on the front page of Twitch. It put it, in this professional light, and it got really professional. There was a whole channel where they would just broadcast the tournament. They had 4 panelists, and it was like match of the day. I don't know if you were ever able to watch it, but they would be watching a match and go, "Oh, we've got a goal in the Zealand match. Yeah. Zealand's losing again," right? Like the hop over there. And then when I won it for the first time, to have an American actually win, because it was just all British dudes. My entire life is just surrounded by British dudes, and but when I finally won it the first time was a huge pivotal event, because I finally beat Dr. Benji. That was that was like the moment in Showdown history, because I could never beat him. Because I'll be honest, his banter, it worked. He got under my.
He gets into your head, yeah.
Yeah. At one point, he got my own mom to do a video that she didn't know what it was going to be used for, but because she did like a selfie video. It was like, "Hey Ben, hope you do well," like in the showdown. And he played that like right before our match, and my mom was mortified. She's like, "I didn't know what it was for." I'm like, "You're fine. He's just playing his game." Yeah, no.
So people are taking it beyond, I guess, just the tactics and the formations. They're going for the mind games. So would you say they were like big rivalries, or was it like a friendly kind of rivalry, or was anyone getting a bit heated?
No, there were big. Dr. Benji versus myself was a huge rivalry for the first probably year and a half of the competition. I'm very competitive. And the frustrating thing about FM is normally when you're very competitive, like let's say you're playing soccer or playing football or basketball or whatever, you can just try harder.
Yes.
Right? But you can just put in more effort. You can box out harder. You can tackle harder, like whatever. In esports, you can't just apply more effort, especially like a brainiac tactical esport or like, game like Football Manager. There's no, I'm shouting encourage at them, right? I'm not the person that's doing it myself. Yeah. So it was annoying the hell out of me that I could not beat him. And there was probably the most famous clip that came out of it was he probably the 3rd straight time managed to beat me. I think he came from behind or something and ended, I was up 2-1 and he won 5-2 on aggregate or something stupid like that. Yeah. And when the 5th one went in, I just like flipped my chair around on my computer and just yelled probably the loudest F-bomb in the history of humanity. So then the next time we play, before it starts, he's like, "Yo, tune into my stream real quick." I was like, "All right." And it's that Jurassic Park clip of the T-Rex like walking out to the ledge with the music and everything. And right when his mouth opens, it cuts to the audio of me. Yeah, it was. So that was what people, the whole, like, sports are the best reality, it's the best reality TV in the world.
Sure.
The reason you tune in to that World Cup final is not because you're really excited to see the best 11 dudes from France play the best 11 dudes from Argentina. You can be excited for that, but you're there for the stories. You're there for Messi versus Mbappe, like you're into, I'm projecting it onto everybody, but like the stories are what drive sports. If it was 11 silhouettes against 11 silhouettes, nobody would really care or pay attention. So the stories drove the showdown. Lelujo won 7, which still drives me beyond insane. He's this insufferable friend of mine who's great YouTuber and everything, and clearly a great competitor, but he would pretend he had no idea what he was doing, and there's nothing more frustrating than somebody that pretends they're not trying but is actually really trying and kicking you all over the place.
First, it must be exciting though linking up with, I guess, FIFA themselves to have a whole tournament. I guess it's going to be broadcast. Many people are going to be able to watch it. Is that something exciting for you, for the community? Are you guys looking forward to that?
It is. I am aware that I, like, as much as I'm the person that makes tutorials about the game, that I was probably never, top 5 best Football Manager players in the world. The Streamer Showdown was an invite tournament, so they never really figured out how to do qualification. And the invite nature of the tournament really helped with the storylines, obviously, because you got the same people showing up all the time. But I think the idea of a Football Manager esport is cool. When come on, when I heard about a Football Manager World Cup, you're going, this is beyond your wildest dreams, right? When I started playing Football Manager in my dorm room or whatever, there's no way I would even, if I'd inflated my ego as much as I possibly could, said that I would have a chance to be involved with FIFA because of what I was doing with Celtic and Mark O'Hara against PSG way back in the day, right? There's no way I would have thought that. Now, obviously, the U.S. isn't sending a delegation, so I didn't have an opportunity to play. Maybe I need to go, like, get a green card marriage or something, try and pick up another nationality. We'll see. Still, no, but really, the fact that I'm here on this podcast, the fact that I'm going to be able to attend the event and kind of cover the event alongside you guys, like, it's going to be surreal. It's going to be really fun, and I can't wait, because Football Manager, we found this out really during the showdown. There's a lot more people that play it than you realize, right? It is a top 10 game on Steam basically every year, and I think that the showdown brought a lot of those people out of the woodwork, and I think something like a World Cup is going to bring even more people out of the woodwork, especially if the English guy does well. Whoever represents England, if they do well, they're going to bring even more people out.
Yeah, it might be me. You never know. I might show up. But so I guess, speaking of which, then, obviously, normally when we get guests on from various different football games, I ask them about how you can separate a pro player from a casual. So on FM, a game where you are more so doing the emails and the transfers and scouting and whatever, how do you recognize someone straight when you watch them and say, yeah, this guy's a casual? And then what may be something that you could say that they could do to make themselves a serious player?
So the best way to identify somebody that hasn't looked up a ton of tutorials about how to play the game, which I'll say separates a casual from like a real strong kind of elite Football Manager player, is there are a bunch of dialogue screens in FM.
Yeah.
And if they pop up for somebody that, let's say, Work the Space, who's one of the biggest YouTubers in the space, or Lelujo, or Dr. Benji, or myself, or Tom FM, or any of these guys that make a living playing Football Manager, I know exactly which one I'm supposed to click on. Like, when those dialogue menus pop up, I'm not reading the words.
Yeah, muscle memory.
I remember, like, I'll read the first two words, I guess, so it's not fair, and I'll know what all of this is about. So the speed at which you are able to correctly click through, let's say a player's upset about playing time, you can just be like, and I know, I don't even have to check the promises screen. I know I just made a promise for this guy. But weirdly enough, it doesn't have to do with the tactics as much as the ability to handle the dialogue screens in a way that's like analytical. Because the vast majority of people that play FM will read all of them, and they'll sit there and go, oh, like, I don't know if this is the right decision. Where the game's ones and zeros, brother. As realistic as Football Manager tries to make it, there is a right answer, right? And now that right answer still might screw you because there are probabilities in the game, but there's a right answer to the question. And if you're like a Football Manager pro, like you make a living playing FM, you know what the right answer is.
Sure. And obviously we know that there is a formation that many people like to say is a bit too OP, too meta, the 4-2-3-1. Are you a 4-2-3-1 merchant, or do you like to branch out and try different things?
I never really talk about this publicly, right?
Okay.
Because I don't want it to like ruin the sheen of the streams.
Okay.
But I live my life's goal to find tactics that will work that aren't that. Okay. But if you do that, it will. I mean, it's not broken. People say like, "Oh, it's broken." I'm like, it's not broken. 4-3-3 and 4-2-3-1 is just what basically every club is playing in real life. Sure. Basic structure. There's a ton of roles in the game that make it look a whole bunch of different ways in attack and defense. But I mean, that's what essentially everybody's doing. But I like, and I feel like people also enjoy trying to come up with my own like tactics, right? Coming up with my own weird system that might actually work. 3 years ago, it was a 4-3-2 where it was basically a 4-3-3, but one of the wingers was a striker, essentially, like a deep lying forward on that side. The next year, I played with no wingers. We had, it was a 4-1-3-2, I think I called it, but it was basically 4 central midfielders and then 2 strikers. And then So I try to come up with stuff that is cool, that works, that can allow you to go after a Champions League. But if you are new to the game, right, and because Football Manager is so freaking hard to get into, 4-2-3-1 Gegenpress. My brother, who's played FM as long as I have, has used the same tactic for 10 years.
Day one.
Yeah, exactly. Because what he loves about the game is player acquisition. So he just goes, I'm just going to build a more talented team than you, and we're going to play a 4-2-3-1. And I know exactly what I'm signing for each position because he's been doing it for a decade. And then, you go. It's not broken, but it is the best tactic in the game. And there's very little argument against that.
Fair enough. I can't argue with that. This is an expert that we're listening to here. So I'm going to have some quick Q&A hot seat questions. Some of them are going to be FM related. They can be one-word answers, one sentence, whatever it is that you want to do. About 10 of those, and then we are finito. Cool. So I'd like to start with, I guess, playing FM. Do you have maybe like a managerial idol from real life? Are you like a Mourinho type, Arsene Wenger type, Klopp Gegenpress?
I would go with Mourinho type. I'm definitely not Pep, but I'll go with Mourinho type. Win at all costs. I don't care. Just win.
And the mind games as well.
It has to be the mind games.
Fair enough. Okay. A potential signing that everyone must make next FM. A youngster or one decade.
Next FM. Oh.
Or it can be current FM, to be fair. Yeah, it's still.
Okay. No, I'll try to go into the next one. The best hidden wonder kid this year, Sverre Halseth Nipan. Most reliable signing. You can get him for under 10 million for sure. He will be gone though. Eventually. Cavan Sullivan, the American who's 14, is going to be very highly rated in the game. Or Nestori Irankunda from Australia. I'll give you 3.
The one that went to Bayern.
Yeah, but if you're playing on this year's game before that happens, so fun.
Fair enough. All right, next one then. If you could only eat one food for the rest of your life, what food are you picking?
Pasta. Next.
Oh, you think you're one of the players as well here? You're just having the pasta before games and that.
No, my mom is it's American's apple pie, but she's of Italian descent, like in the American sense.
Okay.
So she's got a family pasta sauce that she still knows how to make, like an old recipe on a really old piece of paper or whatever, and it is so good. I've been eating pasta probably a couple times a week for my entire life. I just love pasta.
I've watched a couple of your videos where you're reviewing other people play FM that don't really play FM too much. So I would like to know, who is the most unique streamer that you've seen in terms of tactics, their behavior during games? You watch them and you thought, this is so out of the box, but I respect it.
Yeah, I think the most unique streamer I've seen is actually Kurt. I know he's like banished to the wherever by EAFC.
Yeah.
But he got really into Football Manager, and that is the only person I thought I was emotionally invested in FM. That is the only. I legitimately thought he was going to run through a wall behind his stream from his own pep talk. He gave like a 5-minute pep talk to his team before just getting blown out in the Champions League. It's one of oh man.
You know what's the worst? This guy, he stands up to shake manager's hands like in his room. I can't believe what I'm watching.
He's got the Rafa Benitez take the glasses off and a quick handshake. Definitely the most unique. He's got like a standing desk or something, and he's pacing around. He's losing his mind. I mean, we are all losing our minds, but he takes it to a whole other level.
For sure. All right. If you were a superhero, what would your one superpower be?
Oh, I've changed my answer to this a lot. I think elementary school, I probably had one, whatever. Middle school, I had another. I'm gonna go with teleportation. I think that would be, because I have so many videos I want to make now, but travel just, it just sucks. So
it's expensive.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, one, it's expensive. Two, if I'm going over to Europe, it really takes 2 days before we're all set up and fully able to film, and just being able to teleport would make my life so much easier. So out of pure convenience, I want to teleport.
Similar topic then on that teleportation. What is one country you'd love to visit that you've never been to before?
Ooh. That I've never been to before. I really, really, really want to go to Central Asia. So I'm not going to pick one country, but I'm talking like Uzbekistan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, because those national teams don't suck. They make the Asian Cup, and Uzbekistan's nearly made the World Cup 3 different times. I want to see what it's all about. I want to go to a league match and see what's up. Maybe I'll ride a horse or something, get one of those cool hats. It just seems fun.
Fairs. When it gets to cup finals, Champions League finals, have you ever done the typical FM where you put on a suit for the game?
No, I didn't want to jinx it. Just another game, just another. Now I do. I pray to the FM gods and everything. Yeah. It's not like it's just another game, but I've never fully suited up for a game. That doesn't stop people every single time being like, "Hey, you gonna suit up?"
It's important. You have to dress the part to get it done.
Yeah, no, I don't know what to tell you. I'm the manager in the tracksuit. I am. Yeah. I'm wearing the slippers.
Fair enough. If there is one person in the world of football that you'd love to meet one day, who would that be? Could be a player, manager, anything.
Wow. I feel like there are 25 answers to this question in my mind. There's so many different ways you can go with it. Like what player that you just want to say thank you to, be like, oh, probably Clint Dempsey or Pulisic. But if one person that I would want to sit down and have a beer with, maybe Don Carlo. He's in Montana. Okay. Yeah, I mean, he's in the U.S. apparently when he's on his vacation. So I got to track down whatever pub he's at in Montana and say, hey.
Fair enough. Then I'll end it with, let's say in the future, you never know how well this event may go. You are at the FM World Cup final. What opponent would you love to play against and then afterwards, what celebration would you do? That's what I'd like to know.
So I would show up dressed as Ted Lasso.
Okay.
Obviously, I'd be wearing American flag underwear for crying out loud, because you can turn the Americanness up to 11.
Sure.
I would love to make the final, play whoever's representing England.
Okay.
But if I had my choice, I'd pick Lelujo, because I got a bone to pick with him, because I need to prove I can beat him on the biggest stage. And then I would beat Lelujo in the final of the FM World Cup. And then, a celebration?
Are you like a shushing type? Are you more of like I'm celebrating for myself? I like a little shush personally, so that's why.
I'll be honest. I'll be honest, because I know the answer. I would be talking mad trash. It's not my favorite trait, okay? But I grew up playing basketball, like pickup basketball and that is just part of the culture. And I adopted it. I love getting under people's skin, and I can't help it. I talk a ton of trash when I'm competing. So I'm sure if we're in Liverpool and I'm getting it large from the crowd and I win, I'm going to be up there I'm going to be Emmanuel Adebayor in front of the...
Doing a knee slide across the stage.
Yeah. What now? Yeah. What now? Who else?
Fair enough. I've just thought of one last question, actually. I'd like to know, what satisfies you more? Let's go over like a 5-0 comprehensive win or a 3-2 last-minute winner.
I think that if you play Football Manager for a long time, you eventually build these super teams that you'll just start beating everybody 5-0. What's really satisfying for me is when I feel like my team is less talented and I'm able to win the game with what I do. So 3-2, where the way I've set us up to counter works perfectly. We get, they dominate the game, but even if it's not true, that I feel like the tactic that I set up and those little player instructions I put in made the difference in contributed the goal. That, or just one of those moments you bring a sub in and they score like 2 minutes later, you go, oh.
Yeah. It was all me. Fair enough. There we have it. That was a lot of fun. A big thanks to Zealand for taking time out of his very busy managerial day to join us here.
I have a team meeting in 10 minutes.
Bigger thanks to you guys at home for watching or listening, depending on whichever you chose. Hopefully you guys have all enjoyed it. Let us know what other guests you want to see. Stay tuned to our socials to find out who we have next. And of course, don't forget, the World Cup is coming soon. In a bit.